Over the past several episodes of History Traveler, we've been traveling through the country of Japan, exploring some of the history here. We started off in Tokyo, and we've been to Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And now we've kind of circled back. We are to the south of Tokyo right now in a city called Yokosuka. Yokosuka was the site of a naval base in World War II for the Japanese. As a matter of fact, this was the site of one of the targets for the Doolittle Raiders, and it also played a role in the end of the war. So from where I'm standing right now, if you were to go out this harbor right here, well, you would enter into Tokyo Bay, where on September the 2nd of 1945, aboard the USS Missouri, the final terms of surrender for the Second World War were signed. And there were some things that happened here in Yokosuka prior to that event. On August 15th, Emperor Hirohito had announced over the radio the surrender of the Empire of Japan. And 3 days later, on August 18th, well, there were some B-32s, two B-32s to be exact, that were flying a reconnaissance mission over Tokyo. And there were a couple of Japanese fighter pilots that took it upon themselves to basically go up and attack them, whether they wanted to protect the airspace until the formal surrender, or whether they were radicals who didn't want to give up is unknown. But they went up and attacked these B-32s, and the result was that a guy by the name, 20-year-old guy by the name of Anthony Marchioni was killed. He was hit in the chest by a 20-millimeter round, and he would be the last person killed in the Second World War. And those Japanese fighter pilots flew out of the Yokosuka airfield near here. But after the formal surrender on September 2nd, well, elements of the U.S. Armed Forces sailed right into the Yokosuka Naval Base to begin the occupation of Japan. Now, with the surrender of the Japanese here in Tokyo Bay, this was going to avert some massive bloodshed, both on the side of the Americans and the Japanese. The dropping of the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki had brought a quick end to the war. Had that not happened, there was a plan in place to invade the Japanese home islands in something called Operation Downfall. So today we're going to talk a little bit about Operation Downfall and look at some of the Japanese defenses here around Tokyo Bay. I've moved kind of southeast of Yokosuka onto the end of the peninsula that juts out into Tokyo Bay and kind of forms the western part of that pinch point that guards Tokyo Bay. And in 1945, this whole country was mobilizing for an invasion. Men, women, and children were being prepared. They were sharpening bamboo spears. They were creating ceramic grenades. This whole entire country was going to be mobilizing to fight against this American invasion that was going to happen with Operation Downfall. And this area where we are standing right now was actually going to be part of that battleground, and it is nasty country. So we're going to get up to some high ground and talk a little bit about what downfall might have looked like. So I've got my wife with me on this trip. Most good husbands take their wives to the beach or to a resort or on a cruise. My poor wife drew the short straw and got the husband who takes her into the jungle with Japanese pit vipers. Okay, well, apparently this spot that I'm wanting to get to requires ascending a staircase of death. All right, quick update. Still ascending the staircase of death here. Whoo! Legs are burning. All right, well, let me tell you something. We just got to the top, and that was one healthy hike to get up here. But what we are looking at right now is a Japanese memorial to the fallen sailors of World War II. So there were about 60,000 sailors who were lost at sea during World War II and because of shipwrecks. So this memorial was designed to honor their memory. So you see like this white porcelain monument here in the center. There's a statue there beyond. There's also an anchor here from a former training ship. And yeah, I don't know that it gets many visitors. We've been the only ones that I've seen around here. But anyway, yeah, this is a high point up here on this peninsula. I'm sure that as you were coming into Tokyo Bay, this really stands out. We've moved up here on top of the memorial, and they have another statue up here of a couple of sailors and a couple of mermaids. But the reason that I wanted to get up here on this high point was not the sailors and mermaids, but it was to give us a little bit of a vantage point over Tokyo Bay to talk about Operation Downfall. Now, Operation Downfall was going to be divided up into two parts. The first part was Operation Olympic. That was going to be the invasion of southern Japan along in the area of Kyushu. And then the second part of Operation Downfall was Operation Coronet. And that was going to be the assault in the area of Tokyo, around Tokyo Bay. Now, I mentioned that Tokyo Bay is there's kind of a crab claw that forms around it. So if you look off in the distance there, well, right back there on the horizon is the eastern end of that crab claw. And then we are standing on the western end. And then right in here, the crab claw kind of pinches down and forms a bit of a bottleneck. So anybody who is going to try and attack right through here and get right into Tokyo Bay and making a direct assault on Tokyo, well, that is just going to be absolute suicide. So for Operation Coronet, the first part was going to be an invasion on the eastern side of this east crab claw over here. Now, that element was going to be under the command of General Courtney Hodges. By the way, there's going to be 45 divisions that are going to be earmarked for the invasion and the follow-up. Just by comparison, I think Normandy had like 12. But anyway, Courtney Hodges was going to be relocated redeployed from the European theater and was going to be in command of the 1st Army here. With him, you're going to have the 1st Marine Division, the 2nd Marine Division, the 6th Marine Division. You're going to have the 7th and 27th and 96th Infantry Divisions. And then over here, where we are right now, well, just to the south of us, there was going to be an invasion beach, and the 8th Army under General Eichelberger was going to be commanding a force that was going to basically come up on this peninsula and attack the area where we're standing now from behind. Okay, so this is going to be pretty much an all-army setup right here. You're going to have the 24th, the 35th, the 37th, also the 6th, the 32nd. Okay, so some veteran divisions and some that were a little bit newer. Now, one thing I can tell you is that this terrain is horrible. It is super steep. I mean, we just walked up one heck of a hill, and then like right here on this hill, it's all this kind of stuff. And then you have a population that is being totally mobilized for war. This was going to be an absolute nightmare for the Americans. We've moved over to a gun battery here on this peninsula that is called the Sangin-ya gun battery. So construction on this battery began in 1894 and was completed in 1896. So really all around the world in the late 1800s, there was this big push to modernize navies and to also modernize coastal fortifications, and Japan was right there among them. So there were, I think, 6 big guns up here on this battery. So this is one of the gun pits, which is pretty close to its original form. Now, here there also would have been like ammunition batteries and a watch house and a well and living quarters and things like that. And then this gun battery ended up being abolished in August of 1934. So by the time World War II rolls around, well, this gun battery here would have been obsolete. But it's still really cool to see. All right, so I was exploring around this battery. I noticed this giant trench that cuts off the path and kind of winds its way back through here. And walking through here, I won't lie, this kind of feels like something out of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I'm guessing that maybe we are looking at an ammunition battery back here. And then this was the trench that was cut out to serve it. So the gun position that we were just at is right over there. Interesting. And one thing I read about this place, holy cow, we just saw the light. One thing that I read about this place that just is making me a little extra cautious with every step is that supposedly in this area you have to be careful for something called a Japanese pit viper. So yeah, looking down as much as I'm looking around. Let me just move around right here. And oh, what the heck? Big old turtle shell there. All right, but yeah, here's another door, all of these doors have been sealed off, it looks like, so that no one can get in. But anyway, yeah, this is pretty dang cool. All right, next stop here. Looks like we've got ourselves a tunnel. I'm not 100% sure where it goes, but we're gonna follow it and see. I know that there are some other bunkers around here, some that are maybe a little bit more elaborate than the gun position that we just saw. Now, again, keep in mind, a lot of these are built in the late 1800s. Now, whether the Japanese were going to utilize them again for the coming invasion, I honestly am not too sure. I would have to think, though, that if the Americans are going to be coming up in this area with Eichelberger's 8th Army, well, like places like this would have definitely been utilized in some way. Another division that was going to be in reserve, that was being relocated from Europe for Operation Downfall, was the 87th Division. They had been fighting in Europe. My buddy Jack Moran was in that division. So had it not been for the atomic bombs and an abrupt end to the war, old Jack might have been fighting right in this mess with Kruger and the 8th Army. And yeah, so yeah, we're definitely coming out into some more fortifications, maybe getting a little bit reckless here with the Japanese Vipers in the area. All right, so I'm not 100% positive what we're looking at here. Maybe ammunition bunker, maybe crew quarters. But as I popped out of the tunnel, I saw some more stuff up here. So we'll just take a quick look. And oh wow. Yeah, this is looking cool up here. Looks like we got ourselves another gun position. Looks like they might be doing some work on this area, possibly. Oh man, would have been nice to have got a ride on one of those things up here. Yeah, take a look at this. So this was no doubt another one of the Japanese gun positions that was built here in the late 1800s. Yeah, this is cool as heck. All right, we've moved down just a little bit closer to the ocean and got one more of these gun batteries that we're going to take a look at. Now, I think there are even more around here than what we've shown, but this gives us a good representation of it. Plus, on the way here, we were walking through a narrow path and had high sides on our left and our right, and my wife saw one of those snakes. So I think that I think that we're about done here today. But anyway, here's another one of the gun batteries that was built in the late 1800s. All right, got one more thing that I want to show you here today. we have moved down here to sea level, and right here behind me you can see that narrow neck that we've been talking about that leads into Tokyo Bay. And there's one final thing that we're going to look at here before we go today. So prior to the planned invasion of Japan, well, here in Tokyo Bay, what's one thing that the Japanese might have been worried about? Well, probably American submarines. So again, we've got this narrow neck right here leading into Tokyo Bay. And then right out there in the distance, you see that cylindrical structure. That is an acoustic station that was basically sending out signals and making sure that nothing was slipping by and getting up to Tokyo. So everything that we've looked at so far here in this area has been stuff that was built in the late 1800s. But here's a structure from the World War II era that was definitely used during that period of time. Well, I can't think of a more appropriate place to end our time here in Japan than right here, looking out over the waters where the Second World War officially came to an end, and where Operation Downfall might have happened had the war not come to a close when it did. This trip has been absolutely amazing. I have loved this country. I've loved the people. I love the culture, the food. Everything about this trip has been amazing. The only thing I regret is that we weren't able to stay here longer and do a little bit more exploring, but maybe we'll come back here on a future trip and catch some of the things that we missed. But as for now, we're going to move on to the next place.